Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. We start from Libya, where 40 migrants have been killed after an airstrike by forces loyal to Khalifa Haftar hit a refugee detention center. 80 others were wounded in the raid in an eastern suburb of the capital Tripoli. The targeted hangar in the Tajura area was home to over 120 African migrants. Monitors say it's the highest toll from an airstrike since Haftar's forces launched their Tripoli offensive 3 months ago. Libya is the main departure point for African migrants fleeing poverty and war to reach Italy by boat. The Libyan government and the UN have condemned the airstrikes. The UAE has denied reports linking it to the US-made missiles used in Libya, saying it's committed to the UN arms embargo. The country also urged warring sides to reduce tensions and re-engage in the UN political process. Sudan's ruling generals and protest leaders are meeting today for talks on creating a governing body. The dialogues are being mediated by the African Union and Ethiopia. This follows the opposition announcement it will step up protests in mid-July to push the ruling military to return power to civilians. Earlier, 11 people were killed as tens of thousands of protesters marched on the presidential palace to demand the civilian rule. It was the first mass protest since a deadly crackdown on protesters that killed dozens last month. Protesters and generals have been locked in a power struggle since the fall of longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir in April. Russia has urged Iran to abide by nuclear agreements and not to give in to emotions. This comes after Tehran said it breached uranium enrichment limits under a 2015 nuclear deal following US sanctions. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called on Iran to show composure and not to give in to emotions. He said Iran should stick to key provisions of IAEA safeguards agreement and its protocols. Lavrov said Russia will do everything to help preserve the Iranian nuclear deal. The EU and the UN have called on signatories, including the US, to respect and protect the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran. This comes after reports claimed Iran has amassed more low-enriched uranium than permitted under the deal. The EU's Federica Mogherini and 3 European members of the JCPOA have called on Iran to return to the agreed uranium limit. The UN Secretary's spokesperson, Stefan Dujarric, says the deal is the turning point for multilateral diplomacy. He says all the members of the deal, including the United States, must respect it. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif strongly denies the reports, saying Tehran has crossed the uranium enrichment limit under the deal. Russia says Israeli military strikes on Syria pose a threat to regional stability. An ally of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, Russia says it's concerned by the situation's escalation. Syria has accused Israel of committing state terrorism. The foreign ministry says the latest aggression falls within a pattern of continued Israeli attempts to prolong the Syrian crisis. 15 people, including civilians, were killed in airstrikes by Israeli forces on Homs and the outskirts of Damascus on Monday. The Pentagon says a recent Chinese missile launch in the disputed South China Sea is disturbing. It says the missile test contradicts Beijing's pledges that it will not militarize the area. A spokesman says the Pentagon is aware of Chinese actions in the region. China's foreign ministry has yet to confirm the missile tests. Beijing says its military is carrying out drills between Spratly and Paracel Islands. It's warned other ships not to enter the area. 14 crew members have died after a fire broke out on a deep-sea vessel in Russia. The Defense Ministry says the submersible was carrying out marine environment research in Russian waters. President Putin has ordered a probe into the incident. The loss has echoes of the sinking of the Kursk in 2000, which claimed the lives of 118 personnel. At least 50 people have been killed in central Nigeria after an oil tanker crashed off the road and exploded as people gathered fuel. Rescue officials say over 100 people were injured. The explosion occurred when the exhaust pipe of the passing bus cracked the ground, causing sparks. Petrol tanker and pipeline explosions are common in Nigeria, though rarely is the death toll so high. Last October, 60 people were killed when a spill at an oil pipeline in the southeast caught fire. European Union leaders have finally decided who will lead the organization after days of dispute. German Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen has been nominated as the new European Commission President. The candidate for the fifth key role, President of the European Parliament, is to be chosen today. More in this report.
After 3 days of exhaustive and strenuous negotiations, the EU's deadlock over its bloc's top jobs has been broken. In an unprecedented move, the summit put forward the names of 2 women for consideration. European Council President Donald Tusk has praised the bloc's gender parity.
We have chosen 2 women and 2 men for the 4 key positions. A perfect gender balance. I am really happy about it. After all, Europe is a woman.
German Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen was nominated as the new president of the European Commission. This comes after the frontrunners were rejected. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has expressed her disappointment.
I don't want to carry this business of the principle to my grave, but I also don't think it was particularly helpful to right away, as the first thing, tell the strongest political force that their lead candidate will most definitely not even be considered as suitable for election to the position of Commission President. But we don't want to draw this out any further. We now need to look to the future.
IMF Chief Christine Lagarde has been nominated as the first woman to head the European Central Bank. Belgian Liberal Prime Minister Charles Michel has been put forward to replace European Council President Donald Tusk.
Of course, I would want also to thank my colleagues for the support. Europe is facing challenges, and in my opinion, these challenges are also opportunities.
EU leaders have proposed Spanish Foreign Minister Josep Borrell as the next foreign policy chief. Possible candidates include German centre-right MEP Manfred Weber and Bulgarian socialist Sergei Stanishev. The choices still need to be debated and ratified by the European Parliament.
The European Parliament is meeting today to elect its new president. Let's go live in Strasbourg, where the developments are underway. As you can see, the members of the European Parliament have started arriving at the Parliament building, and today is a big day in the European Union politics, as the members of the European Union will be electing their new president today. The race to fill a top EU job moves to European Parliament, as the members of the European Parliament elected in May vote to choose a new president. The vote follows a painful agreement reached by the EU's 28 national leaders in Brussels on nominations for the key posts. The 751-member parliament is more fragmented than ever after May's elections saw solid gains by the Liberals and the Greens. For now, you can see the live visuals coming on your TV screens from Strasbourg, where the members of the European Parliament have started arriving at the Parliament building, and they are to elect the new president today. In a short while, the session of the Parliament will start. As you can see, the members of the European Parliament have started arriving at the Parliament building, and in a short while the session will start and they will elect the new president today. We'll keep you updated regarding this particular story as the developments happen. For now, we'll move on. The UK PM hopeful Jeremy Hunt says a Brexit deal is not possible without the Irish backstop still in place. Speaking at a hustings event in Belfast, Boris Johnson said an EU divorce deal couldn't include the current Irish backstop provision. Here are the details.
The Irish backstop is an insurance policy in the UK-EU Brexit negotiations. It is meant to make sure that the Irish border remains open, whatever the outcome of the UK and the EU negotiations. Jeremy Hunt said the backstop in its current form is not acceptable.
The fundamental issue with the backstop is not the principle that we shouldn't have border infrastructure on the island of Ireland. I think that's accepted by all sides in the Conservative Party, by the DUP, by everyone who's been involved in this debate. The principle is the backstop which traps us into following EU customs tariffs until the EU give us permission to leave the customs union. And
Jeremy Hunt stressed the need to find a technological solution to the Irish backstop.
we have to find a different solution. And I think it will be a technology-led solution, what the Germans call an invisible border. We are rapidly understanding the potential of technology now.
Speaking shortly after Hunt, Boris Johnson said the Irish border issue can be resolved during negotiations for a free trade deal. He said, "We will not have a hard border in any situation."
I think it's absolutely vital here in Northern Ireland to stress two things. And number one, that we will under no circumstances have a hard border. There will be no physical checks or infrastructure at the border in Northern Ireland. And number two, we will make sure we have an exit from the EU.
Managing the border between the UK and Ireland has proven the most contentious element of divorce negotiations between London and the bloc.
More stories to follow, but right after a short break, stay tuned with the listeners. Welcome back. An Italian court has lifted the house arrest order for a German captain who brought 41 migrants ashore. Italy's hardline Interior Minister Matteo Salvini wasted no time to strongly denounce the ruling. Salvini campaigned to bar charities from bringing refugees to Italian ports. In a series of tweets, he expressed remorse at what he called the failure of Italian judicial system. Italian prosecutors requested to uphold a house arrest order in place for Sea Watch captain Carola Rackete, but the judge overturned the order, saying Rackete was doing her duty saving human lives. Sea Watch 3 that spent 2 weeks at sea carrying more than 40 migrants. Moving on to Tunisia, an allegedly wanted militant has blown himself up at a bus stop in the capital Tunis after being chased by the police. It comes just 5 days after Tunisia's capital was hit by 2 suicide bombers, killing a police officer and wounding 8 others. Foreign Ministry spokesperson says the targeted militant was a suspect in last week's attacks. This frequent violence comes months ahead of country's general elections. Tunisia has been battling militant groups near the border with Algeria since 2011. The Taliban have captured Kush Tepa district in Afghanistan's northern Jowzjan province. This comes as Washington is trying to negotiate a peace deal with the Taliban within the next 3 months in Doha. A member of the Jowzjan's provincial council says heavy clashes are continuing as Afghan security forces fight to recapture the district. Officials say 5 security officials have been killed and communication with the district has been cut off since Monday morning. The United States has added the Balochistan Liberation Army and Hezbollah fighter Hussein Ali Hazima to its list of global terrorists. The State Department has also listed Jandullah as a foreign terrorist organization. It says the Balochistan Liberation Army, Jandullah, and Hezbollah's Hazima continue to engage in activities that threaten U.S. security. Terrorist designations expose and isolate organizations and individuals, denying access to the U.S. financial system. Pakistan's Foreign Office says it's important terrorists and their helpers are held accountable and brought to justice. Pakistan is installing fences to secure porous border it shares with Afghanistan. Despite resistance from the Afghan side, the initiative has reduced militant activity, bringing peace to the tribal districts. More in this report by our correspondent Sumaira Khan.
The Durand Line, Pakistan's border with Afghanistan, runs along jagged terrain and snow-covered peaks as high as 12,000 feet. Islamabad is constructing a fence to curb illegal immigration and infiltration across the 640-kilometer-long boundary touches Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan province.
The situation in Bajor was so bad a few years back that we were forced to flee to other parts of the country. We lived as internally displaced people. Now peace has returned and we came back after security forces started fencing the border.
The project will cost anywhere from $500 to $600 million. It includes a state-of-the-art surveillance system, closed-circuit television and drone cameras for day and night monitoring. Locals term the project essential for not only peacekeeping but development and efforts to increase literacy rate in the war-torn area. An example of this could be Painda China Educational Complex in Tira Valley, the first educational facility for children since independence of Pakistan.
Our district is deemed as one of the most backwards areas of Pakistan. In this regard, education is the only solution and projects are needed which would give our kids quality education. We appreciate the military authorities for initiatives. There should be more educational institutes.
After this success, people hail from other Pashtun tribes have also come forward to demand more schools and colleges.
This is the Tira Educational Complex. It is the first such institute established in the valley since the independence of Pakistan. Even people from far-flung areas are eager to get their children enrolled. Many even arrange for their children's transport means to school beforehand. So far, we have enrolled 850 kids, including 100 girls.
As of January 2019, some 800 kilometers out of the 1200 have been covered. Work on 233 out of 843 forts has been completed in Priority 1 areas within Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan provinces. The rest of the area is expected to be covered by December 2019. Right now, I'm standing at Landi Kotal checkpost of Pakistan Security Forces, which is situated at Pakistan-Afghanistan border, and it is the exact point where the fencing process has taken place. And behind me, it is a bit visible to all. And according to the officials, right now around 600 kilometers area has been covered and fenced. Stop that infiltration. Pakistan has also faced 27 casualties due to Afghan resistance during this whole process of fencing the border. But the Pakistani side is right now quite optimistic that the area that has been marked critical, and it is around 900 kilometers that falls in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, will be completed quite soon and by the end of this year. This is Sumaira Khan from Landi Kotal checkpost, Pakistan-Afghanistan border for Indus News.
French customs has returned 400 smuggled archaeological artifacts to Pakistan. Some of the objects date back to around 3000 BC. More in this report.
These relics were seized by customs at the Paris airport in 2006 and 2007. French authorities initially thought they were only around 100 years old, but when they consulted an archaeologist, it was discovered that they dated back to the 2nd and 3rd millennium BC. It was also revealed that they had been stolen from burial sites in Pakistan's Balochistan province.
After so many years, it's like more than 10 years, these artifacts which were smuggled from Pakistan in 2006 and 7 and subsequently seized by French customs, they are now being returned to Pakistan. So it is a historic moment for Pakistan. It is also an emotional moment for Pakistan. It is just like that a part of heritage of Pakistan is coming back home.
A total of 400 antiquities were returned to Islamabad at a ceremony at the Pakistani embassy in Paris on Tuesday. They include statuettes, vases, jars, bowls, and urns.
It is a source of pride. It is even a little bit emotional because every day we work to protect French territory and our fellow citizens from major trafficking. And there, somewhere after this long work, it is a bit of the result of the work on the ground. And we are returning to the Pakistani people a treasure that is priceless in reality.
The artifacts are thought to be collectively worth over 157,000 US dollars. Some have been identified as belonging to the Nile culture, which existed between 3100 and 2700 BC.
These antiquities returned to Pakistan are similar to items looted from cemeteries in Balochistan from the 3000 BC. Balochistan is a province located in southwest Pakistan, known for the rich Chalcolithic population that inhabited this region, but also for the Bronze Age, the population which precluded the Indus civilization. The most known from Pakistan dating from 2500 to 1900 BC, but also the population which succeeded the Indus.
Pakistani officials have said they hoped to put the returned antiquities on display in their own country.
And now the business updates. Stocks in Asia have fallen as initial enthusiasm over the latest US-China trade truce fades. Washington's latest threats to impose tariffs on EU goods worth $4 billion has made markets jittery. Mainland Chinese markets were down in early morning trading. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 slipped 0.6%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng and South Korea's Kospi were also down. But Australian markets bucked the region's trend by trading fractionally higher. Oil prices were higher in the Asian morning's trading hours, bouncing back from Tuesday's tumble. The US dollar index struggled for traction as bond yields fell to their lowest levels since late 2016. Defending champions, the United States reached the Women's World Cup final after beating England by 2-1. It will be the Americans' fifth final, while England are bundled out in their third World Cup semi-final. Playing in Lyon, US striker Kristen Press opened the scoring after 10 minutes. That was quickly equalized with a close-range strike from England's Alan White. Star player Alex Morgan put the US back in the lead with a header. The game ended dramatically when England skipper Stephen Hood's 84th minute spot kick was kept out by Elisa Neher. The US will play the final on Sunday. Pakistan beat arch rivals India by 3 frames to 1 to win the final of the World Snooker Team Championship. Pakistan also recently defeated India in the Asian Championship. Pakistan's Asjad Iqbal and Mohammad Bilal beat the defending champions Pankaj Advani and Lakshman Rawat. Pakistan won the first 2 frames and looked on course for whitewash before India made a comeback to win the third. But Pakistan took the fourth to take the crown. And now the weather situation from around the globe. That's all for now. For further updates, stay tuned to Indus News.